Hey guys, what's happening? Chris here, and today I want to share one of the things that will help ensure you release the very best version of your game. I'm talking about the crucial step of iteration in game design, and today I will break down why it is so important in the game development process. We're also going to take a look at the stages of this process and how to make it so that your game ends up actually reaching the player experience goals that you set for it. The basic meaning of iteration is that it is a process in which you, as a game designer, need to design, test, and evaluate the results over and over again throughout the development. The objective is to do this each time you make a change that is meant to improve the gameplay or features until your player experience meets your criteria. The flow of the iterative process starts with setting the player's experience goals. These goals are set by the designer depending on a game they want to create. Let's say that they want to create a game about zombies. One of the player experience goals for a game like this could be: players will feel scared and uncertain as they try to survive in a world ravaged by zombies. After the player experience goals have been set, the game designer needs to come up with the mechanic or system for the game that could fit the idea. This is the part in which the designer does some brainstorming and thinks about what the game might need to become to fit that experience goal. In our example, let's say that based on that player experience we came up with, the idea of our game will be a third-person shooter with a system limited in resources and weapons which are needed to deal with zombies. The scarcity feeling is crucial, since our player needs to feel scared. The next step in the process is to actually formalize that idea or system that we came up with in the previous step. You might be wondering, how do we formalize it? Well, there are a couple of ways, and both are very important. We could either write it down in a game design document, or we could prototype it. I have a full video on the game design document, which I will link here along with the template I put together to help you with this step. My point here is that this is a very important part of the process because of the iterative nature of game design. The key is that you don't want to invest a lot of time developing a game which you don't know whether it will successfully fit the player experience or not. So we use prototyping as our tool to easily and quickly create something that players can interact with, and the game design document to keep track of our decisions and communicate it to our team members or for future personal reference. After we created our prototype, it needs to be tested. In this step, it is very important to not only test for bugs or for malfunctions in the game, but also to remember you need to test against your player experience goals. Going back to our example, let's say you created your third-person shooter and are really excited because you can kill a bunch of zombies and monsters. You might be so excited you will likely think it is a great game, but then a playtester might come in and play it. After they're done playing, the feedback you receive is that it is super cool to kill all these zombies and that they felt super powerful doing it. While it sounds like you did amazing, guess what? It is actually a major red flag for your design. What? Yep, remember that your original player experience was supposed to make players feel scared and try to survive. Yet this prototype is making players feel powerful. At this point, the next step is to take a good look at the playtest feedback, as you will need to evaluate and prioritize your results. Since our player had a different player experience than what we intended to, we need to go back to the first iteration step and start from the beginning. We need to ask ourselves if that player experience is still what we want to aim for, or if we want to change it completely. If we want to stick with it, then the system is fundamentally flawed. So we would need to go back to the prototype and make changes so it fits the player experience we're trying to aim for a lot better. In our example, there are a lot of things that we could do to fit that player experience more closely of feeling scared and trying to survive. One thing would be to make the monsters more resilient to damage. Another one might be to limit the amount of resources available to the player. Finally, one even more drastic option would be to not allow the player to use any weapons at all and just try to hide and set traps to escape the zombies. After we add those improvements to the prototype and test again, we might get feedback from our players that better resembles the player experience that we want. If that is the case, then the iterative process has been completed. But why is iteration so important in the game design process? Well, it is important because it allows the game designer to quickly and cheaply adapt their designs to fit the original player experience. It is by far the best way to make quick improvements to your game while making sure that it fits the player experience that you envision creating. It also saves a lot of time and resources when game designers just want to try out an idea they have before spending a lot of time and resources developing it fully only to learn it's not a good player experience. The pitfalls that you can run into during this process are getting caught in the never-ending loop of iteration, or losing direction and changing your player experience goal every time you get feedback, thus causing a never-ending loop that you will never escape. The best thing that you can do to not allow this to happen is to make sure that once you decide what the player experience will be, you have to stick to it and make sure all the progress that you make is towards that goal. Don't change the player experience goal every time you get bad feedback. Or even worse, don't change it in later stages of development. At some point, you also have to trust your gut and know that you're doing the right thing by following the process correctly. As you can see, this iterative process can be applied at any stage in the game design process, from the initial concept to the final quality assurance testing. The idea is that as you get deeper into development, the changes that you will need to make to your game will be smaller and smaller, since you started the iterative process from the beginning. This will allow you to save a lot of time and resources in development, and most importantly, it will make your game a better game for it. And that's it, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. What has been your experience with the process of iteration when you're working on your games? Please let me know in the comment section below. Also, if you like this video, please hit the like button and share it with your friends. See you next time!